Achieving vibrant energy and joint comfort after 60 often depends less on adding new supplements and more on removing hidden saboteurs. The common approach chases symptoms with pills, ignoring the possibility that seemingly healthy, everyday vegetables might be the source of the inflammation. This creates a cycle of confusion where diet staples are mistaken for necessities. By exploring the body's subtle reactions through the lens of intention and self-awareness, a perspective championed by Dyer, a path toward identifying these triggers emerges. It is a journey of listening to the body's signals rather than overriding them. This path begins by examining the most common culprits. The nightshade conundrum. The nightshade family includes common staples like tomatoes, bell peppers, eggplant, and potatoes. They are present in cuisines worldwide and celebrated for their flavors and nutrients. Yet for a subset of the population, these seemingly healthy foods pose a significant challenge to joint health and energy levels, creating a deep paradox. This sensitivity is often dismissed as folklore, but the biochemical mechanisms involved are specific and measurable. The paradox lies in how a food so rich in vitamins can simultaneously provoke discomfort. The primary mechanism involves compounds called alkaloids, such as solanine in potatoes or tomatine in tomatoes. These are natural pesticides produced by the plant to defend against insects. In sensitive individuals, these alkaloids can behave as toxins. One hypothesis suggests they may inhibit the enzyme acetylcholinesterase, leading to an accumulation of acetylcholine in the nervous system. This disruption can result in muscle stiffness, twitching, and joint pain, mimicking the symptoms of arthritis. Another mechanism involves calcitriol, a potent hormone that regulates calcium levels in the body. Some nightshades contain this compound, which can significantly increase calcium absorption from the diet. While this sounds beneficial, excessive levels of calcitriol can lead to hypercalcemia. This state encourages calcium to be deposited in soft tissues, such as tendons, ligaments, and the cartilage within joints. These deposits, known as calcifications, can cause chronic pain, stiffness, and inflammation. Dyer often emphasized the powerful connection between the mind and the body. From this perspective, the physical reaction to a food is intertwined with the belief system surrounding it. If an individual firmly believes a tomato will cause them pain, the mind generates that expectation. This nocebo effect, the inverse of the placebo, can amplify a mild physical sensitivity into a severe reaction. Dyer's work suggests that the fear of the food can become as inflammatory as the alkaloids themselves. An applied scenario illustrates this cumulative effect. A person in their late 60s may experience persistent, aching stiffness in their hands every morning. They follow what is considered a very healthy diet, perhaps starting the day with an omelet containing bell peppers and ending it with a large salad containing fresh tomatoes. They attribute the stiffness entirely to age, never connecting it to their diet. The scenario explores the process of eliminating all nightshades for 3 weeks. Slowly, the morning stiffness subsides, and their daily energy levels improve, revealing the low-grade inflammatory burden they were unknowingly carrying. It is crucial to understand that nightshades are not universally harmful. This is a critical counterexample. For the vast majority of people, these vegetables are exceptionally healthy. Tomatoes are a prime source of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant, and peppers are rich in vitamin C. The Mediterranean diet, linked to profound longevity, is built upon tomatoes and peppers. The sensitivity is highly individualized and is not a blanket rule for the population. Bioindividuality is the key principle. Understanding that a food recognized as healthy could be problematic for some is a crucial step in personalized wellness. This realization moves the focus from generic dietary rules to personal observation. The impact on energy is often secondary to the joint pain, but just as significant. The body must expend considerable metabolic resources to manage the low-grade inflammation triggered by these compounds. This constant diversion of energy to the immune system results in systemic fatigue that is often misdiagnosed as poor sleep or simple aging. Wayne Dyer's philosophy also centered on self-reliance and listening to the body's innate wisdom. Instead of adhering blindly to external dogma about good or bad foods, the individual is encouraged to become a detached, curious observer. This perspective removes the guilt and anxiety often associated with food choices. It reframes the process as an experiment in self-awareness, not a restrictive punishment. The goal is to find what nourishes the individual body, not what a chart dictates. This approach requires patience, as the effects of nightshades are often delayed and cumulative, not immediate like a typical allergy. The body may take days or even weeks to clear the inflammatory compounds, making the connection difficult to spot. But alkaloids are not the only plant defense mechanism hiding in plain sight. Another compound, found in one of the most popular health foods, operates on an entirely different pathway. What healthy habit might I be defending that no longer serves me? The oxalate burden oxalates are compounds found in many plants, but they are exceptionally concentrated in some of the most celebrated health foods. Spinach, Swiss chard, beets, and almonds are chief among them. These are often consumed in massive quantities, particularly in green smoothies or large salads, under the assumption that their nutrient density is purely beneficial. However, for those susceptible, this high oxalate load can become a significant source of pain and fatigue, creating a burden on the system. The primary mechanism of oxalate-related issues is mechanical. Oxalic acid readily binds to minerals in the body, most notably calcium. When oxalate levels in the blood and tissues become too high, they bind with calcium to form microscopic, sharp-edged crystals. These are calcium oxalate crystals, the same material that forms the most common type of kidney stone. These crystals are insoluble and abrasive. When these microcrystals precipitate in soft tissues and joints, they act like tiny shards of glass. This causes direct physical irritation and abrasion to the surrounding tissues. The body's immune system recognizes these crystals as foreign invaders, launching an inflammatory response against them. This results in localized pain, swelling, and a feeling of grittiness in the joints, particularly in the hands, feet, and shoulders. It can also manifest as muscle pain or fibromyalgia-like symptoms. Wayne Dyer might observe the psychology driving the massive overconsumption of these foods. The belief that if some is good, more must be better is a core tenet of modern health enthusiasm. Dyer's work often focused on balance and the energy of intention. Consuming a pound of spinach not from a place of simple nourishment, but from an anxious desire for perfect health, creates an energy of imbalance. The intention becomes forced, and the body reflects this energetic imbalance with a physical one. Consider an applied scenario. An individual dedicated to their longevity regimen drinks a large smoothie every morning. This smoothie contains 2 cups of raw spinach, almond milk, and almond butter, all extremely high in oxalates. They also suffer from chronic plantar fasciitis and migrating shoulder pain that physical therapy cannot resolve. They assume these are overuse injuries. The scenario reveals the moment of connection when they learn about oxalates. After switching to a low-oxalate breakfast, the foot pain and shoulder stiffness gradually dissolve, revealing the dietary, not structural, origin of the pain. The counterexample here is vital. Most people can process moderate amounts of oxalates without any issue. A healthy gut microbiome contains specific bacteria, such as Oxalobacter formigenes, which specialize in degrading oxalates in the digestive tract, preventing their absorption. The problem arises from a combination of factors: genetic predisposition, compromised gut health, or, most commonly, massive and sudden overconsumption that simply overwhelms the body's capacity to manage them. The impact on energy from oxalates is twofold. First, the body expends significant energy managing the systemic inflammation caused by the crystal deposits. Second, oxalates are potent anti-nutrients. In the gut, they bind to essential minerals like calcium and magnesium, forming insoluble compounds that cannot be absorbed. This can lead to mineral deficiencies. Magnesium deficiency, in particular, directly impairs the body's energy production cycle, the ADP cycle, leading to profound muscle weakness and fatigue. Preparation methods can significantly mitigate this burden. This is not an absolute prohibition on spinach. Traditional cooking methods like boiling or steaming are highly effective. These processes cause the water-soluble oxalates to leach out of the vegetable and into the cooking water, which is then discarded. Consuming these vegetables raw, as is common in smoothies, delivers the maximum possible oxalate dose. Wayne Dyer spoke frequently about non-attachment. An individual can become attached to the identity of being a healthy person who drinks green smoothies. The identity becomes more important than the outcome. Letting go of that identity to embrace what the body is actually signaling requires humility. The attachment to the idea of spinach's health benefits can be stronger than the body's clear feedback of pain. While sharp crystals present a clear mechanical danger, the next category of vegetables poses a subtle chemical threat. This threat interferes directly with the body's master metabolic regulator, draining energy at its very source. Am I listening to my body or to an external definition of health? The cruciferous conflict. The cruciferous family of vegetables includes broccoli, cauliflower, kale, and cabbage. These foods are universally hailed as nutritional powerhouses, particularly for their potent anti-cancer properties. They are a cornerstone of most longevity diets. However, for individuals with sensitive systems, this powerful chemistry can create a conflict, particularly by disrupting the thyroid gland, the body's primary energy regulator. The mechanism centers on compounds called glucosinolates. When these vegetables are chopped or chewed, an enzyme, myrosinase, is released, which converts glucosinolates into various compounds, including isothiocyanates. These are the compounds studied for their protective benefits. However, they also act as goitrogens. Goitrogens are substances that interfere with the thyroid gland's function, specifically by impeding its ability to uptake iodine from the bloodstream. Iodine is an essential building block for producing thyroid hormones, T3 and T4. These hormones regulate the metabolic rate of every cell in the body. By blocking iodine uptake, a very high consumption of raw cruciferous vegetables can, in susceptible individuals, suppress thyroid hormone production. This can contribute to or worsen a state of hypothyroidism or low thyroid function. The connection to joints and energy is direct and profound. The hallmark symptoms of hypothyroidism are overwhelming fatigue, low energy, a feeling of coldness, and brain fog. The body's entire metabolic engine is dialed down. A lesser-known but common symptom is joint and muscle pain, known as arthralgia and myalgia. When metabolism slows, tissue repair slows, and fluid can accumulate in the joints, leading to aches and stiffness that mimic arthritis. Wayne Dyer viewed the body as a holistic energy system. From this viewpoint, the thyroid is a master switch for that personal energy. Consuming foods that disrupt this central regulator, even healthy foods, creates a fundamental energetic imbalance. Dyer's philosophy would emphasize that true health is found in equilibrium, not in forcing the body to process extreme inputs. The intention may be health, but the imbalanced action can lead to disease. An applied scenario highlights this nuance. A 65-year-old individual feels perpetually tired, cold, and achy despite doing everything right. Their lifestyle includes a daily large, raw kale smoothie. Their doctor notes their thyroid function is on the borderline of low. The scenario follows the simple intervention of switching from raw kale to cooked broccoli. This one change, which neutralizes the goitrogenic compounds, is enough to lift the fog, warm their system, and reduce their daily aches. The counterexample is critical. This effect is almost entirely negated by cooking. Steaming, boiling, or sautéing these vegetables denatures the enzyme myrosinase. This prevents the formation of the goitrogenic compounds. Therefore, a person with a healthy, well-functioning thyroid and adequate iodine intake is at almost no risk from eating cooked cruciferous vegetables. The risk is specific to high-volume, raw consumption in individuals with pre-existing thyroid sensitivity or iodine deficiency. There is also the gut factor. These vegetables are high in raffinose, a type of fiber that humans cannot easily digest. For individuals with compromised gut health or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, these fibers ferment. This fermentation can produce significant gas, bloating, and abdominal pain. This digestive distress is itself an inflammatory process that demands immune resources, further draining the body's energy reserves. True wisdom seems to lie not in labeling foods, but in understanding the context and preparation that defines their impact. Wayne Dyer's perspective would encourage this nuanced view. He might see the modern obsession with raw foods as another form of rigid, external dogma. True self-awareness means recognizing that the same food, prepared in two different ways, can have two completely different energetic and physical effects on the body. This understanding of context applies equally to the final category. This category involves a staple of the modern diet, one so common it is often mistaken for a simple vegetable, yet its processed forms drive inflammation through an entirely different pathway. What did I last choose balance over an extreme, healthy choice? Corn in modern inflammation corn, or maize, is often treated as a vegetable on the dinner plate, but it is botanically a grain. Its impact on health is less about the single ear of fresh sweet corn and more about its ubiquitous presence in the modern food supply. Corn has been processed into myriad derivatives, including high-fructose corn syrup, corn oil, and maltodextrin. This saturation in the diet has created a major source of systemic inflammation, impacting both joints and energy. The primary mechanism of harm from corn derivatives is the omega-6 fatty acid imbalance. Corn oil, in particular, is extremely high in an omega-6 polyunsaturated fat called linoleic acid. While omega-6 fats are essential for human life, the modern diet provides them in massive excess, overwhelming the body's intake of anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats found in fish and flax. A healthy ancestral ratio is roughly 1:1. The modern ratio can be as high as 20:1. This severe imbalance is highly pro-inflammatory. The body converts excess linoleic acid into arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid is the direct precursor to inflammatory signaling molecules known as eicosanoids, such as prostaglandin E2. These molecules are like accelerants for inflammation. They directly signal the immune system to create swelling, pain, and redness in the joints. This chemical pathway is a primary driver of the pain experienced in both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Wayne Dyer often spoke about living deliberately and aligning with nature. From this perspective, the modern industrial food system, built on subsidized corn, is a profound misalignment. It represents a path of convenience and profit, not a path of natural nourishment. Dyer's philosophy would advocate for consciously stepping outside this artificial system. It encourages choosing foods that align with the body's ancestral needs, rather than passively consuming the products of industrial agriculture. An applied scenario illustrates this hidden exposure. A person in their late 60s struggles with diffuse, body-wide aches and persistent fatigue. They believe they eat healthily, avoiding obvious junk food. However, their healthy salad dressings are made with corn oil, they snack on corn chips, and they use generic vegetable oil, which is often 80% corn or soy oil, for cooking. The scenario tracks the profound reduction in systemic pain when they purge their pantry of these hidden oils, switching exclusively to olive oil or avocado oil. The counterexample is the whole food itself. Eating a single piece of fresh, organic sweet corn is not the primary issue. As a whole food, corn provides fiber, vitamins, and minerals. The problem lies in the highly processed, concentrated derivatives, the oils, syrups, and flours. It is the sheer inescapable quantity of these derivatives in processed foods that skews the body's essential fatty acid ratio and fuels the inflammatory fire. Corn presents other, secondary issues as well. It contains proteins, such as zein, which is a lectin. For sensitive individuals, this lectin can irritate the lining of the gut, contributing to intestinal permeability or leaky gut. This condition allows undigested food particles to enter the bloodstream, triggering a systemic immune response and further inflammation. Furthermore, conventionally grown corn stored in large silos is highly susceptible to mycotoxins, molds, which are potent immune triggers. The energy drain from this inflammatory state is immense. The chronic, low-grade inflammation caused by the omega-6 imbalance places the immune system on constant high alert. This chronic activation is one of the single greatest drains on a person's daily energy reserves. The body is effectively fighting a low-level war against itself, leaving the individual feeling exhausted, unmotivated, and depleted, regardless of how much they sleep. Dyer emphasized the power of conscious choice. Passively consuming the standard modern diet is an unconscious act. Actively reading labels, choosing whole foods, and preparing meals from scratch is an act of intention. It is a declaration of self-respect. This conscious choice, this intention to truly nourish the body, energetically separates the individual from the inflammatory cascade of the industrial food system. Identifying these 4 potential triggers is the analytical part of the journey. But the solution is not simple avoidance. It requires a profound shift in perspective to truly resolve the conflict between food and the body. Where am I passively consuming instead of consciously choosing? Reframing the relationship with food, the journey through the complexities of nightshades, oxalates, cruciferous vegetables, and corn reveals a central, liberating truth. The vegetable itself is rarely the enemy. The problem is almost always one of context. The issue arises from overconsumption, raw preparation, genetic predisposition, industrial processing, or a compromised gut. Inflammation is the body's signal that the context is wrong. This reframing resolves the initial hook. The path to vibrant energy and joint comfort after 60 is not about finding a new, magical supplement. It is about the quiet, patient, and personal work of identifying and removing these hidden aggravators. It is a process of systematic observation and gentle elimination, not one of panicked addition. The power lies in what is removed from the system. All 4 of these vegetable categories impact joints and energy through the common, unifying pathway of inflammation. Whether it is the chemical irritation from alkaloids, the mechanical abrasion from oxalate crystals, the hormonal disruption from goitrogens, or the fatty acid imbalance from corn oil, the result is the same. The body is forced to divert precious energy and resources to manage a state of chronic, low-grade immune activation. Dyer's work provides the ultimate framework for navigating this journey, as he taught that intention is a powerful force in the universe. If an individual eats any food, even a healthy one, while burdened with fear, guilt, or anxiety, they're imprinting that food with negative energy. This stress response activates the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. This state shuts down optimal digestion and promotes an inflammatory internal environment. The solution, from a Dyer perspective, is to eat with conscious gratitude and clear intention. Approaching a meal with the intention of nourishment and healing profoundly changes the body's response. This mindset shifts the body into the parasympathetic state, rest and digest. From this viewpoint, blessing the food, feeling gratitude for it, and believing in its power to heal are non-negotiable parts of the digestive and metabolic process. An applied scenario synthesizes this entire journey. An individual has identified that large amounts of raw tomatoes and raw spinach are triggers for their joint pain. They do not banish these foods forever in fear. Instead, they shift the context. They cook the tomatoes into a sauce, reducing the alkaloids. They gently steam the spinach, reducing the oxalates. They eat smaller portions. Most importantly, they eat this meal with conscious gratitude, free from the fear that it will harm them. Dyer would remind this individual that they are not merely a physical machine processing chemicals. They are a spiritual being having a human experience. True longevity is not just the absence of pain. It is the presence of internal peace and purpose. Obsessing over every food detail to achieve perfection can create a new disease, an anxiety that is just as inflammatory as any food. The true common enemy, therefore, is not a vegetable. It is dogma. It is the rigid, external belief that there is one right diet for everyone. The journey to longevity is, by definition, deeply personal. It requires abandoning the noise of external rules and cultivating a quiet, internal relationship based on self-awareness, observation, and profound self-trust. The path to identifying triggers is now clear. Temporary elimination, mindful reintroduction, observation without judgment, and prioritizing traditional cooking methods. But the deeper path, informed by Dyer, is to heal the relationship with food itself. It is about learning to trust the body's innate wisdom. Ultimately, the body is not a machine to be fixed, but a garden to be tended. By changing the internal environment of belief, gratitude, and intention, the physical environment of the body inevitably follows. This creates a state of natural balance where energy is abundant and the body is at ease. What belief about my health am I ready to release?